Hello again. It's time for a new game here. We are still in the FIDE World Cup, and the winner of this tournament qualifies to the candidates and got a chance to play against world champion Liren. You can see here Gukesh is playing white and is playing against the GOAT Magnus Carlsen. We can see here, this is the Endgame of the FIDE World Cup. Gukesh defeated Wang Hao, we saw that game, and then he got defeated by Carlsen, of course. So unlucky pairing by Gukesh that he got Carlsen. I think if Gukesh would have gotten any other, like for example here on the lower half of the tree, then he would for sure advance, but Magnus is too good for Gukesh, of course. So but Gukesh, he won the FIDE circuit, which is like you take like the 5 or 6 best tournament you played since the last candidates, and you add them up. Like there is some kind of like an index. FIDE does the calculation, and Gukesh was the best tournament player since the last candidates, so that's why he got the qualification to the candidates anyway. Okay, so let's get some help here from the computer. Gukesh is playing white and he's going for the London again. He also did that against Tari, so London is popular system. And Magnus does b6, sometimes I do that too. And here Gukesh doesn't go for the classical London, instead he does knight c3 here, and he going for like Jobava style. Like if black would play d5, then he would maybe do a Jobava style game here with this here, to force the black knight to a weak position on a6. I never understood really the point of this, but I know it's Jobava London. But he could also play normal here, e3 maybe. Sometimes it's not so nice for black to have the pawn here on d5, because it's easy for white to get this e5 square, and he gets like we saw here in the game against Tori, like white got a lot of control here on the dark squares because this one. So sometimes black wants to play more play without d5 maybe, mainly. So Magnus did bishop here, that's normal, preventing e4, and now Gukesh makes interesting move here, f3. So now it's like almost like a bit of an unusual opening already. It's here, and Magnus decided to play e6, and it becomes like a French game, a bit like the French. But of course the most critical is what's happened if you play this one, and it seems the computer thinks that white could do this already. Why can he do that? Let's see here. And the point is this queen f3 here. So he can't move the knight because take on b7. So only way he can move it is here. And apparently you have like a check. This check is key here. Like if you would have to just move your queen, then yeah, maybe it's just pawn. There is this kind of a gambit. I forgot the name of this gambit, but it's like a classical gambit. That's yeah, in Queen's Gambit, white just play e4 and f3, and it's playable, but it's supposed to be like good for black. But here, because of this check, forcing c3. Now this forgot the name of this gambit. This setup apparently white has compensation for the pawn here. Long castling, knight here. Looks like a nice position for black. For white, I mean. I would love to play white here. So because of this check here. So maybe Gukesh probably already analyzed this with with computer, so he knew about this one, and Magnus also of course knew that d5 is scary because of e4, so he decides to play this one, and looks like a3 is theorem. Normal is here of course to play d5 to try to break, but it's still knight here or maybe bishop here, so that's why he does that one. But it gives white the option of course to play this one first, so black kinda wants to play this one d5 so he can go back with the knight French style. But now let's see what's happening here. Something like that, maybe take. This also looks okay for black actually. Knight here then, and maybe take, and yeah, a little bit of a passive position, but it's still a fine position for black. So he plays queen d2 instead. Of course d5 is the way you want to break this. You don't want to do this one because of d5, and you get like a bad Benoni structure here. So you want to play like this. And Gukesh doesn't do anything, so he allows the pawn sack here in the spirit of this gambit. The more traditional way to play is to play something like this, and we get something which looks a bit like the French. Looks like a line of the French, and also you can castle, and also the computer also thinks it's interesting to take here. Something like here, take. This also looks okay for white. Is a little bit ahead in development here. What if it takes the pawn? This is also okay. So he doesn't. The computer likes this one a lot for white. And going for the attack here. Good exchange French here for white. Okay, so he did this one. The computer likes b5. Push like that. That looks interesting. The computer does not like to take here. Let's see what happens. This is the gambit way. Yeah, okay, so this is a little bit annoying for black. Cannot castle so easily, and this one is attacked. So maybe try to get out something like this is best. White wins a pawn. White wins 2 pawns, but he was already sacrificing once. He's up 1 pawn here. Possible way here. And of course you can take like this also. I saw that the computer was a little bit worried of this pin. So maybe try to get that line by taking like this. Because otherwise it could become something like this. This looks like a better way for black than the other gambit line, because now yeah, it's like he got 2 tempo up basically. Feels like he's getting like some tempo to castle, because other way white could move here and he couldn't castle. Okay, let's go back to the game. No more opening analysis here. Okay, so Magnus pins here. b5 was the computer's first move. And now the computer thinks it's fine to play the French. Like this. Yeah, some chances for white to get an advantage here. To play the a3, that's also logical. and Magnus takes the pawn. But of course he cannot win back here. Looks right to take here for some reason, but the computer doesn't like it. Okay, the plan is to go here. Okay, I want to. Yeah, it's very many possibilities here in this opening. Quite a new unusual opening with lots of lines that I had never analyzed here. Like, for example, you can of course take like this. Maybe Magnus would have played this one actually. Going for an endgame here. It's supposed to be quite equal. So instead he played here. I don't really see the point. I guess the point is to open here. So he took with a knight, but yeah, if he takes with something else, I guess it's the bishop here. For example, here. Yeah, it's quite clever, you know. Still, always this against the knight e4, always this. Yeah, that's a clever way actually. I like that. Gukesh, that's like tactically alert. Maybe it was he had analyzed this at home also, but it was quite a nice move, opening for the queen here. So Magnus decided to take at once, and only move here is knight queen f6 to trade. Yeah, this doesn't really work for black, because yeah, he wins an exchange here. White's winning, so has to trade the queens. For some reason it's best to play this one first. I guess it's to force this one. You can't play here of course, because this, I guess he wants to have the check here, some lines. He went back anyway, I don't really understand why. Looks like this is, how is the position? It's even material. Black has better development, but white has the bishop pair. Black's dark squares are quite weak. Yeah, looks quite good for white actually, but we can see Magnus, once he probably understood that this is fine for him. Understood, like it looks very good for an untrained eye like me. It looks like a good position for white, but the computer thinks it's equal. So let's see how Magnus won this. I guess the problem for white is that when black's knight get active, then it's hard to keep the bishop pair. Like now he had to give up the bishop pair. Lots of trades here. They are playing the best computer moves, so they're playing good game here. So this should be a draw, but of course black has the passed e-pawn, active king, FNE pawn going forward. It will be hard for Gukesh to hold this against Magnus. Against any other player could probably hold it, but against Magnus it will be hard to hold it. Here you can see it's already only one move for white that draws the game here. So it's already, after this move, it's already losing. So he has to play c4 and create his own counter play here. Let's look at that. It's not so easy to see because you can see the check here. So let's look at that line. Has to go here. Obviously check here is the thing, and you have to block. Here you have to play extremely precise already. Like for example this one, it's already winning for black. It's already winning, so he has to put the rook behind the pawn. Rook behind the pawn. Old sayings always works. Okay. So I guess black has a bit of a choice here. If he puts the king to block the pawn, then I guess white king can win these ones. But it's not good to put the rook in front of the pawn either. So let's maybe try that anyway. That's not working, of course. It's a threat to check and check. Okay, so in this position you have to do this one. Interesting, this is also a draw apparently. Okay, so if you can get the king inside the pawns, it's actually a draw. I guess some special case here where you can check. So if you got the king inside of the passes and the black rook is behind, if the black rook was something like here, then it would be winning, of course. Okay, so it's a very hard endgame for Gukesh to hold here, but he had the chance to hold it, but he had to play extremely precise here. Typical Magnus, looks like it's nothing, and then here white has to play the only moves to hold, and typical of Magnus to play that good and precise in the endgame. So now it's obviously winning. It's winning for black here, but Magnus didn't play the best one. It's winning here with king d6. We can see it's winning already. Magnus didn't see the best move. He played rook g5. Don't really understand the point. And now white had a chance to play this. Obviously he wants to defend like that. So yeah, looks like this also is quite good for black. Yeah, why doesn't this work? Yeah, because he can check and then go here. Yeah, just move it. Take. Okay, so this was White's last chance to play like this, king in front. Apparently still a draw, but it looks kinda I trust the computer it's a draw, but it kind of looks lost to me. But computer knows better, of course. Interesting. I love Rook Endgames. That's my favorite. Rook Endgames are my favorite chess position type. It's endless joy of analyzing Rook Endgames. Because it's like, it's very complicated, but it's also a little bit simpler than normal positions, so you can like understand them a bit more. Okay, so after this check, the computer thinks it's winning for black, because it's just, yeah, white is quite passive. You always want, like sayings in root gate game is like activity is more important than a pawn, that we have seen several times here. Activity is much more important than a pawn, and all rook end games are drawn if you have activity, but not if you're passive. So we can see here that it's already like white is even up a pawn, but black has the activity and the passer, so it's winning for black here. Now he has to, because rook here, he has to take, and this, yeah, he used take and get a new pawn here. So nice game by Magnus. It looked like, how could you, somewhere here, like it just looked like this looks great for white. How can white ever lose this one? It just looks great. Looks great for white. But Magnus, he can, like already here, like Magnus can, like most of new players, they don't like think like strategically long term. They think a little bit more like computers, like tactics and so on. But Magnus, he can see like, yeah, these pawns will get traded. In the end, I will maybe can queen this one. Like bishop pair, no problem here, because yeah, I could have some chances to trade this knight for the bishop, like it was here. Bishop had to go here and trade knight here and then trade, and it was smooth sailing for Magnus. So yeah, good practice for Gukesh also to lose these kind of hard games. Very good practice when you're young to get these hard games, and yeah, will be interesting to follow. The World Championship match is starting quite soon, so I hope like to get out the games to be ready to cover the World Championship match. So yeah, see you.